Hey YouTube, this is a trendy socialite. I hope all is well with you. This video is another installment in my God and Me series, and it is at the request of a subscriber. They sent me a note with several questions in it, and so I wanted to respond. This will be the first of a few videos responding to those questions, and I really hope that something that I say really helps you because it helped me. Okay, so his question was, how do you get over a breakup as a Christian person? Well, anyone in general, but especially as a Christian, because we're supposed to feel differently, act differently as Christian people. So I will say that for everyone, getting over a relationship is different for everyone. It's a very, very individual path. I will say that what helped me to cope with it and to begin to deal with it was to recognize the fact that it is a death of some sort. It is the end of your relationship. It is the death of that relationship. It's the death of that hope or possibility or what have you of potentially spending the rest of your life with that person, or having children with that person, whatever your dreams, hopes, and wishes for your life may be. It's sort of the end of that with that particular person. Doesn't mean it's the end of that forever, just with that particular person. So one of the things that I thought about with that piece is a funeral. I've been to many funerals. I've been to sad ones, and I've been to joyous ones. I've been to long ones and short ones. I've been to black ones and white ones. I've been to large ones and small ones. And one of the things that is pretty much universal throughout the funerals is that at the committal service, the preacher or the pastor or whoever is doing that part of the service, basically says, "We therefore commit this person's body back to the ground, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, what have you." So funerals in general, that is an opportunity for survivors to say their goodbyes, to have an opportunity at some closure, and to start their road of healing. So sometimes what happens with relationships is that they end suddenly and sometimes traumatically. Well, even if they don't end suddenly, even if they end mutually and amicably, that's still the end of a relationship. And one of the things that is extremely sort of important in thinking about that process and in trying to get over it is, if you think about it in that term in terms of funerals and death, and I know it's a very, very morbid subject, so I don't mean to be morbid about it, but just to help you sort of put an analogy with what the ending of a relationship is like. For me, there was one particular time where I had a relationship end. How I felt it ended was suddenly and pretty unexpectedly. Like I wasn't expecting for the relationship to end. And I never had a chance to say goodbye. I never had a chance for any closure or anything like that. I was just kind of heartbroken. I was devastated. I just didn't know what in the world happened, what in the world was going to happen to me. I had done all of the things that the gurus say, the self-help gurus. I had, written a letter and not mailed it. I had cried, I had relaxed, I had done yoga, I exercised. I did all of the stuff that they say to do in order to help heal from a breakup. And for me, nothing really, really was working. So, one day, in the midst of I was in a funk, y'all, just a major funk. And people saw it. And one night, just kind of sitting in the middle of my bed, staring at the wall, so to speak, it just came to me that I needed to say goodbye. And I needed to do that in a formal way so that I could move on with my life, because I was stuck. I was stagnant. I wasn't able to move on emotionally, and to a degree physically. I wasn't able to move on in that regard. So I said, I think I'm going to have a funeral. And I mentioned it to one of my best friends at the time, and I thought, she would laugh because I thought it was pretty silly when I came up with the idea. And she paused. I remember she paused and she was like, "That's a great idea." And it was interesting because at the same time, she was trying to end something in the relationship, but it was hard because all of the emotions were tied into it, and all of that kind of stuff. So she wanted to, in that relationship, and sort of use the funeral as a way to purge, the feelings and stuff that she had for this person out of her system, and then be able to move on. So we decided to do it together. There's safety in numbers, there's strength in numbers, and we were just like, okay, we're going to do it together. So I will never forget that day. It was a fall day, and it was cold. So we wore all black, like we were going to a funeral. And she had like this wooded area behind her house. So we each had things left over from that relationship, and so we each took some things left over from that relationship, and basically did an Angela Bassett in Waiting to Exhale. We set them joints on fire. 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 Yes, that is what we did. Um, and as we watched the stuff burn, we each sort of said a eulogy. All of the things that we wanted to say to that person, whether they were good, bad, or indifferent, we said those things out loud to each other. We were best friends at the time, so it everything we knew everything anyway. So it was just saying it out loud was extremely therapeutic for both of us, I believe, because it felt like we were talking to that person. It wasn't just thoughts rolling around in our head like we had done for several months prior or several weeks prior, but it was actually words that we were saying out loud. So we felt like we were sort of saying it to that person, but at the same time, we had the support of each other there with us. And so we sang some songs, like we sang. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Neither one of us can sing, so we're just out back, literally like howling at the moon. That's how bad we sounded. I mean, we cried a little bit, and the coolest thing was when, sort of at, I guess, the height of the fire, or, well, actually kind of toward the end of it, we had a committal service. And this is what we said. In my article, I wrote it down, so I'm going to read it to you verbatim. By burning these things, I am purging and cleansing my heart of the rubbish left from this relationship, and making room for an abundance of new growth, the overflow. Like God's refiner's fire in Malachi 3:3, I am skimming the surface of my heart and soul to allow purity, majesty, and greatness to rise to the top, showing God, myself, and others that I am as precious as the finest metal and rarest jewel. I am to be loved, treasured, admired, and protected. This is God's will for my life, and from this day forward, I choose to accept it and walk in it. In Jesus' name, amen. And after that, we ended, we put the fire out, we left the stuff there, we threw it away. Whatever, wasn't consumed in the fire. And then we went to our favorite restaurant and had like an amazing meal. And over the meal, we talked about just what the funeral meant to us. And we both sort of came to the conclusion by the end of dinner that it was more than just symbolism, that it really was sort of the first step in a healing process for us. So I just wanted to share that story with you all as a potential first step in healing from a broken relationship or a relationship that has ended. I hope this has been somewhat helpful to you. Please leave any comments, questions, or ideas that you have below. I certainly want to hear them. I will come back with probably a part 2 about healing from a breakup, things of that nature, shortly. So take care and be blessed. Bye.